Dwarfs on the shoulders of giants. This has been said lots of different ways in history. I think it was Alexander the Great that said, "It's not that I'm a giant, but that I stand on many men's shoulders." And Henry Ford said, "If I have seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants." Hello, I'm Ron Stipek. He just introduced me very nicely. Thank you, Sergey. And I was asked to tell you a little bit about myself, besides the company that I'm involved with or started here. I was born in 1960 in the United States in a little town called Arlington, Washington. I went to high school not too far away from there in Seattle. I then attended different universities. I received an electrical engineering degree, a degree in automated manufacturing, which is robotics today, radio technology. I went to graduate school and I studied international business, received a title, CMA, which means nothing to Russians at all, but that's okay. And I created different things, from cloud chambers when I was a young boy, working on magnetics with a gentleman by the name of Howard Johnson, which put several patents, and today they're used on high-speed trains. I invented an alarm system for motorbikes, which I received royalty on for probably 13, 14 years. I designed video audio boards for large television companies. They gave me stock in their company. I had lots of different things I invented over the years, and several different companies were created by them. I took projects from the United States government, CO2 programs, brought them to Russia, and for different reasons, I decided to move to Tomsk, which you might ask me that later. And today I have a more recent project, which happens to be named Taptuit for different reasons, mostly from my friends in Germany. But let's go on with the story. You heard a little bit about me. And the question might be, and I'm going to hold my cards here, that way I can walk around. How do we get big fast? Or how should we build a society that has morals or ethics that doesn't lose its head? You know, both directions have their advantages. You know, I like Tomsk. I decided to move here because I like the people of Tomsk. I like your morals, your ethics, but it's true that people here, they don't have high self-esteem. The economical situation isn't that great. But you know, if you go to Silicon Valley, you'll notice that people have high self-esteem. They have lots of money. Their economy is doing great. But you know, the crime is pretty high. It's not safe to walk down the street. Children don't play outside by themselves like you see here. And so when I think about which direction is a better way to go, I think if we looked at history and even different philosophies like the Chinese, their yin-yang, there has to be some sort of balance when we create a better society or become that giant. You know, I think most of us plan to have children, and we hope to build our wealth for them to have a better life, for their life to be better than ours. Some of us, well, we're younger, we don't care about children yet, we want to make money, we want to go off and spend it, but sooner or later, you will have children, and you will change your mind about that. And in history, you'll find that people are either driven by their economical situation or by their inner ability. Some people call this spiritual, some people call this consciousness. In any case, it's your inner abilities. To give an example, if your economical situation isn't great, then it's very likely you might even steal from your own family, unless you have strong inner abilities. If your economical situation is good and you have the possibility to grow, then you have great moral standards and your family values are great. If You have a lot. You have everything you need. You have everything you could want. You know, these kind of people are given to creativity, but you'll find that their creativity goes into directions that we consider immoral, unethical. So which one is right? Which one's wrong? It's difficult to say, and I think I'm not going to talk about that much more. I'm going to leave that to philosophers. But I'm going to discuss what I think history has to say about this. So before I go off to about history here, we had this boy, as I call him. His name is Tomsk. He has this great desire to become big, but we need to be careful not to lose our head, because losing our head means that we've lost our morals and our values along the way. Okay, it's great to have lots of money, but none of you know that, probably, because none of you have had lots of money. But really, probably you can see that those people also have a difficult time with life. It's just different type of difficulties. So, who should decide how we grow? What strategies should we use? What tactics? Who performs them? Maybe we should look to history a little bit to see that again. And then, since the concept of learning history and working together with your society is easily forgotten, who will remind our children how we grew this viable economy? What will history show? It's up to you, really. It's not up to me. I'm the foreigner that lives in Tomsk. This is your city. You get to grow it. You get to decide. Of course, I want to live here. I plan to raise a family here. Some of you know that. Some of you don't. If I look at history, we know that generally there are two systems that appear to cause great growth. One is the Jefferson economy. The other one is the style of Greek democracy. And don't confuse Greek democracy with modern day social democracy. And don't confuse Jefferson economics with our modern day Kinsey's economics. When we talk about the Silicon Valley, they grew far away from any of these types of philosophies. They grew in a very natural way. They grew with small companies coming together in a very natural form. They naturally came together. There was no one telling them what to do. There was no controlled system. They naturally grew together. And we could even say that companies like Intel, because they started the Silicon Valley truly, they grew organically. So if we start off and go in that direction, we can say that it's like a cell structure. It's molecular. Each cell carries its history. It's a small individual, like each and every one of you. And you all have something to contribute. What happens with a cell? It starts small, and then it joins with another cell. This is like a small partnership. Then it starts assessing the other cells around it. This is figuring out who's the right partner. And then small cells start crawling to the top of larger cells. These are large partners. And all the cells benefit from the other cells. They feed off of each other. This is the bottom line. As I always like to say, we all need to eat, or I have to eat. I need enough money so that I can put some food in my tummy. But otherwise, to me, life is an adventure. There's lots of things to do. There's lots of projects to achieve. It's not about collecting a pile of money. It's about doing things with it. And that's why I'm going to make my money, so I can go off and do things. And so these cells, when they all come together and they all work together in this fashion, they create a large organism. I think at this time, since you just ate, I think we should all stand up. But before you stand up, when you stand up, I want you to look around you and look for someone who you don't know, and I want you to tell that person who you are and what your dream is. What cell are you? I know in Russia, you always say, my profession is this. My specialty is this. But, you know, this is a strange question to me. When someone comes up to me and says, what's your specialty? What's your profession? It's like, I don't care what my specialty profession is. What I want to know is what your dream is, what your ambition is. So I want you to stand up now, and I want you to tell someone who you don't know what your dream is, what your ambition is. So come on, stand up. Find someone around you who you don't know, and I want you to tell them what your ambition is. That includes you too also. Come on, stand up. Okay, did everyone tell each other their dreams? Yagyu, you need to be a couple of slides. Yeah, that one. Uppa. Okay, many of you are experts in software, like we said, hardware, maybe marketing and so forth. But all of you have dreams outside of your expertise. One of the things that has been difficult for me over my life is figuring out who I am. What am I good at? You know what I learned along the way is that I'm an entrepreneur. I'm great at coming up with ideas, and I have tenacity. Everything that I started that was a dream that I wanted to finish, I finished it. Of course, it didn't always happen when I wanted it to. Sometimes it takes years to finish some things that I start. Sometimes they start and they finish sooner. But I learned that I was not a good director. I guess we were talking about that a little bit. So one of the things that I always look for along the way, in the 90s, I had 3 different products that I developed. And I had 3 different companies which I started. I did not direct any of those companies. I am not a good director. I'm an entrepreneur. I took the ideas. I found people like the Sergeys and Anton, and we developed them into a great company, and they made money. Everyone made money from it. So along the way, when you have your dream and your idea, you need to figure out who you are, what you're good at, and don't try to be everything, because I have never met anyone, maybe Steve Jobs, but I never met him, who could do everything, who could take a product from end to end as a solution and bring it to customers. So figure out who you are. And after you figure out who you are, reach out to other people and create a small partnership. Now, for as many times as I've had bad partners, I've had good partners. And I can say, if I wanted to, I could sit and dwell on why I was so mad about how that partner didn't work out, how they took this from me, or they took money from me, or they took my product from me, and I could go over the corner and cry. But instead of spending my time doing that, I just stood up, found another partner, started developing it further, and this has happened with me with both small and large partners. It didn't just happen with the large guys. In fact, the large guys are sometimes better. But so with saying this, I have found that I have different benefits from having partners. First of all, if there's just me, even though if you knew me or knew some of the things that I've done, this will help my credibility. But if you don't know me, I have no credibility. I, in general, don't keep a resume. You guys need to because you're young enough still. But as you start getting older, you've had enough projects. I don't keep a resume anymore. I keep my network, as it might be called today, or my partners, because these are more valuable to me than any piece of paper. Because it's better that someone calls up and says, "Hi, what do you think about Ron?" And it's better for someone to say how they feel about Ron than for Ron to write it on a piece of paper and say, for someone to hear what Ron thinks about himself. So for me, my partners are the most valuable things for me. I've got people that I can ask from 35 years ago, because remember I was born in 1960. And they will say, "Oh, I worked with Ron on this. We made money on it. It was great." Of course, there were some people that it wasn't so great. So credibility is one of the things I get from partners. If I was by myself, I would never have this credibility. Also, 2 heads are better than 1. A lot of times they say 1 partner plus 1 partner equals 3. This is very true. My partners, I've got some sitting in this room, they think of things that I would have never thought of, or they add a little spark to my idea, and it creates a much larger idea, or they give me a different direction to go. There's a whole list of things that partners will give to me, but generally it really comes down to this. My dad said to me some time ago, it is better to have something of a whole than 100% of nothing. So partners give me something. If I try to keep 100% of it, then I won't have any partners. So I have to share my ideas with people. Now, I know people say you should assess your partners, and I even told you that cells assess each other. But I have learned outside of my intuition and my gut that if I think about this person, whether they're the right partner or not, it's never right. I never know if they're going to be the right people or not for one reason or another. So I have learned, since I don't have the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to assess my potential partners, it's called trial and error. I know that most of you are software engineers, but in electrical engineering, I was told by my professors, divide it and conquer. So this is what I do. I try out a partner. Maybe they work, maybe they don't work. The other expression is live and learn. So as a small person, you are not going to go out and be able to assess your partners, look at them, sit and say, okay, let's try and figure out if he's the right person. You have to step forward, shake his hand or her hand, tell him what your dream is, tell him what your idea is. If you don't, you're never going to know. Enough of that one. Okay, let's go to large partners. That's what's up there? Yep. Okay. When you go to a large partner, and I have this problem along the way, you're going to crawl to the top. The cell does not go to the bottom and try to work its way into the organism. It always goes up to the top. This is the same thing, unless you're looking for a job. If you're looking for a job, okay, come in at the bottom. But if you have a project, don't go to the bottom of the company. Go to the top. In the late 90s, early 2000, I had this idea about CO2 offset program. And the only people in the world that cared about CO2 offsets were governments. So I went down to Little Rock, Arkansas. I went on the door, Bill Clinton, that was a US president, if none of you know that. And I had some help because actually I had some uncles that were senators and so forth, but this was to my advantage. But still, I knocked at his door. I told him within 2 minutes what my idea was. He said, great. He told me there's someone I should go talk to. I ended up taking this person, who was a former Speaker of the House for the United States government, to different places in the world for CO2 offsets. The reason why they took someone like me is that the president had a cabinet. They were all doing their jobs. They had different things to do. They didn't have time to do this. He liked the idea. It was perfect. It made him look good. And the Speaker of the House didn't have time. All he wanted to do was travel about. This is the same for you. Your little idea for them can be great and fantastic. You just have to show them how it's going to be great. They don't have time to do it. They don't have time to take it from you. Maybe another little guy might, but generally speaking, I've only had one large company try to steal my idea. And they didn't really steal it, they just buried it. Otherwise, if you go to the right large person, they will take your project and say, you do it. They have no interest in taking it. They want someone who is already interested, already excited in it. So, when you go to the bigger company, don't go to the bottom, go right to the top. They're not going to bite you. Just like when you guys stood up, you shook each other's hands, you told each other your dreams. Did anyone get bit? Okay, did anyone hit anyone? No one got bit, no one got hit. So, same thing. No one's going to bite you, no one's going to hit you. So, when you go to the big company, go to the top, you won't get hurt. But when you do go to when you do go to the big company, if you don't approach them correctly and show yourself correctly, I could say that it can mutate so that it doesn't work well. It's like a relationship with a man and woman or with friends. You know, if you do not come up to them and say how they're going to benefit, and also say how you want to benefit. If you just don't tell them what you want, if you don't share your dream with them all the way, all of your ambitions and dreams are going to be lost in what we call the details. So whenever you have a dream and you go to the large company, you lay out everything that you want. You tell them what you want. You tell them what they're going to get, everything you can think of. Even if you think it sounds stupid, say it. If it is stupid, you will lose it off to the side. But if you have something really valuable, they're going to ignore all the silly or stupid things that you do, and they'll take it. But if you don't say everything, something strange will happen to you. Maybe cactus growing out of your head. If along the way you have a relationship, you will profit from it. You know, all of us dream to be Bill Gates or someone like this and have all of the money. But again, I'm going to go back that if you work with a large company or a small partner, share it. Because you'll make so much more money when you share your concept and the percentage of it, that trying to get all of it or a large portion of it will give you just truly a small amount of it. I can't even begin to tell you when I just shared how happy I was to go off and live life. I have probably done more than most any of you can imagine. I probably last year traveled more places in the world than any of you have traveled in your whole life. And it's just because I have these small little parts of all of these different projects, and I make an income from them, just from my dreams and my ideas. So, if you include lots of people, everyone makes something from it. There's a profit from the bottom line. I'm going to go back to this idea about Tomsk becoming this giant. And I'm going to talk about history again here just briefly. When I think about history in the 1880s, 1890s, take this from me so that it stops making noise. Germany and the United States had a bunch of small companies. And these small companies naturally came together. When they naturally came together, they started creating larger companies. These larger companies then became what we consider our giants. These companies are like Siemens, Ford, ExxonMobil, Dutch Bank, Dutch Telecom. These companies started from just little tiny companies which grew on top of another company, which grew on top of another company. It appears that during this time of history, these companies and their societies around them created healthy societies and giants. Then later, probably starting in the 1970s, 1980s, we had companies like Apple or Microsoft. Apple had about 3 guys. They had these computers that they made. I remember I bought a little Sinclair computer and I put it together in 1978. It was kind of fun. And we could go to Radio Shack and buy computer parts. They actually brought their computers to Radio Shack. Just I think about 50 of them. Radio Shack sold them within a week. And they gave an order to these guys that had this little company for what they called was a Lisa computer. It wasn't called Apple then. And they gave them orders for thousands of them for all of their stores. You know what? Apple became a $1 million company within just years. Microsoft, 7 guys. They're writing code. They don't know what they're writing code for. Paul Allen's doing a great job. He's a great guy for writing code. But Bill Gates comes along and says, you know, if I go over to IBM, who's having a hard time selling their computers, and we offer them an operating system, which we can buy from this guy over here, and integrate it with our Edlin system, they'll buy it. He walked to the door to the top of IBM. Is it time for me to stop? He said, hi guys, I tell you what, I've got this operating system which I can put on your computer. You pay me $1 for each computer that sells. IBM thought, well, this is okay. We're only selling like 10, 20,000 computers a year anyhow. When they put this DOS operating system on the IBM computers, IBM personal computers started selling millions of them a year. Microsoft, within a few years, was a multi-million-dollar company. We can say when we look at the Silicon Valley, there was all these big booms because of all of these small companies that climbed up on top of giants. They did a great job. But a lot of us today will say that they lost their head. They lost their ethics and their morals, even though they became extremely wealthy. Again, I go back to the question, is this what we want for our children? I think we need that next slide there. What is it next slide? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Again, the big guy needs the little guy. When the big companies, a good example here is Kodak, they stopped bringing in small companies. Maybe some of you don't even know who Kodak is, but all of 5 years ago, Kodak, an extremely large company, imploded. They disappeared. They don't even exist anymore, along with a few other companies like Sears and that. They don't exist. They stop bringing in small guys. The large companies know, from example, time and time again, that if they don't bring the small guys in and let them sit on their shoulder to take a ride, they don't live. Large countries, they don't fall from being attacked from outside. They fall from within. They fall because they don't bring in fresh ideas. Those large companies need us. But I go back to the question, do we want to grow as small little groups and grow into a giant, or do we want to ride on someone's back? Of course, this is up to you guys. This is your city. So, and maybe I should add, Google dreams of you and even writes little things on their different sites about, please, small guys with all your ideas, come to us, tell us about them. The big guys are looking for you. They want you to get on their shoulder. I think I will wrap this up here, and I'll slow it down. And I say, do something for your children. Of course, like I said, most of you probably don't even have children at this point in your life. And it doesn't take a lot. All you need is just that one little drop into that vast sea, and you'll make a ripple. You'll make a difference. So you don't have to go out and become Alexander the Great, the guy that I said stood on the shoulder of men. All you have to do is make that one little thing to change the world around you. So I know they asked me not to say this, but you're not going to live forever. You're going to die someday. And so do something before you die. Don't try to live longer thinking, okay, if I don't do that, I'll live longer, I'm safer, it's okay. Face death in the face and say, okay, it's going to happen, so let's enjoy life, let's do something great, let's get out there and do it. This is what I would request of you to do, is just to look at it and say, either I can sit here on my, or I can stand up. Yes, I didn't actually say that in English. I guess I could have said it in French, but some of you speak French too. So stand up, take your ideas, and go somewhere with it. I know that many times I wish that it would have happened in a year or two. Sometimes some of my ideas took years, 10, 15 years to achieve them. But I can tell you that every idea that I had in my life, with the exception of the new ones at the moment, the ones that I had when I was in my 20s and my 30s and in my 40s, they happened. So every idea that I dreamed to make happen, it was just a question of time. So that's it. This was Ron Stipek. If you have questions, stand up, ask me. I believe this young lady here, she will give you a microphone.
Ron, thank you very much for your inspiring speech. Could I ask you, what is your own personal dream? Could you share it for us today?
I have children already. I'm having more children. And I really like children. So first of all, for me, the most important thing in life is my family. I love my mother and father. I can say I love my wife. I think women are beautiful, by the way, so don't think that I don't find you women attractive, but I love my wife. And I think my dream is to understand love. Now, with that being said, I think you're asking a little bit different question here. I have lots of dreams, but generally what I do is right now I have a project, for example, and this project has to do with the skin of your body, and I call it a papillary device. And what it does is it detects the prints in the rest of your body so that you can have, or someone could have, authentication of the unique individual. And at the moment, my dream is to finish this project, and I've done whatever I needed to do to get to the end. In fact, just last week, I had a large Chinese company tell me that they would fund our project, not directly through me. I had to do it through Tomsk State University, which was okay with me because it's my dream. Just because there was a building or a wall in front of me, I pivoted, I went around it, and I got to the end. So this is my current dream. From this, I actually have some other patents which I could write, but I am not going to write them until I get this one going. So,
thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
Thanks for election, and I want to ask you about fresh idea. Is it a result of any accident in your life, event, case, or it's a reason about analytics works analyze life experience, and so on.
This current device which I came up with was because before this I've been working with a group of Germans in Stuttgart for maybe since 2007, so however many years that's been. And we've been working on substrate technology, and along the way we came up with the concept of what we call as e-skin. I know that the gentleman took the e-skin, Roger, he's from England, he took it the rest of the way. But along the way I was talking to some other companies about this, and so I could say that I built this on the top of other giants. And when I was talking to this company, it was a Chinese company, I realized that they had a need. Now, I've lived for some time, and so I've taken some old technology which I knew about, which no one even thinks about anymore, and I put it together in my mind of what needed to happen. And so I can say that the latest thing that I've developed or designed happened because I understood someone had a need. I had some previous knowledge from several people from different universities. Some of this technology comes out of Russia. Actually, the theory on substrate technology came out of St. Petersburg 100 years ago. Of course, there wasn't the technology to develop it. So yes, I can say that these concepts are the ideas that I've developed over time were built on the ideas of others. I can say I truly don't have an invention. I always have what I call our innovations. So, which innovation is built on other people's ideas.
Okay, Ron, thank you for the great speech. I really like the idea of mutual benefit. And that's my question. You said that you have to go to the tops, but most businesses here in Tomsk, they have tops in Moscow, and also there are tops in Silicon Valley, in New York, in in the world. So should we move out of Tomsk to the tops, or should we stay here, and communicate with tops? What should we do?
Okay, this is just my opinion, of course. I am not God, and so I can't say this is what you must do. But in my opinion, I moved to Tomsk in 2003 because I was traveling back and forth because I owned part of a company here, as you know. And, you know, I found that I really liked the people here. I still have to say that children can run out in the street at night. Of course, there's some parts of Tomsk that you don't want to do that at, but that's true in any city. And in most cities in the world, you don't want your children to run outside at all, even in the daytime, because you're afraid they'll be kidnapped, killed, murdered, hurt, anything. People have children here and they play outside. There's no fear. So first of all, I have no ambition to move away from this area because the people here, I think correctly. Now, I know that you guys don't have great self-esteem. This is true. This is obvious, or people wouldn't try to kill each other while they're driving, or there wouldn't be so much garbage on the street. But this doesn't mean that you don't have good morals and good ethics. So first of all, I would say here, this is my opinion. Secondly, as far as finding other people or other large companies, I'm still under the opinion, even with this Chinese, I'm doing my best so that everything comes back here. I struggle and fight with them to make sure that it comes back this way because I want it to grow here, not in China, not in the United States, not in Germany. But of course, if you don't care or don't have any morals or ethics and you don't care about that type of thing, yeah, maybe it would be better if you went to the Silicon Valley and enjoyed life that way, or maybe to the Stuttgart area because they have a large innovative area. They produce those most patents in Europe in that area. And so this is up to you, but I plan to stay here. And I know several foreigners that live in Tomsk, and I know that you guys think, huh, Tomsk, The winter, it's cold. So what? I've got clothes. I can put them on. So we all want to stay here. So
Thank you, Ron.